Welcome into the channel. Christian Ojackjian at Ochoops here with Jordan Mann, J Man's Takes. This is the first video in my series previewing as many college basketball teams as I can for this upcoming season. And who better to talk about one of the premier programs, if not the top program in college basketball, the Duke Blue Devils, than Jordan Mann, who, if you guys aren't familiar, tap in on Twitter, tap in on YouTube. This guy knows basketball at the highest level. His breakdowns that he does on Duke on YouTube are fantastic. I've learned a lot about basketball and from Duke over the last couple seasons from J-Man. You're going to see him on Sleepers this year. You'll see him on Action Network. He's an up-and-coming talent, and he's going to be our expert for Duke today. So, J-Man, thanks for being with us.
Christian, that's probably the best intro I've ever had. So I feel honored to be the first guest, and I appreciate the kind words. And I'm looking forward not only to talk Duke, but also just college basketball and ball in general with you as the season is approaching.
Absolutely. So we got to talk briefly about last season. Obviously, you know, Cooper Flagg goes number 1 in the draft. Malawach top 10. Knipple goes 4th. Proctor early second round. It's a new team, but I think the most important thing to take away from last season, more so than the game we don't need to speak about in the Final Four against Houston, is just how amazing that team was and how great of a job Shire did. You can point to Flagg being a generational talent, but to me, it wasn't just about how great Flagg was. It was about how Shire got the absolute best out of that unit. So what are some reflections from last season and turning that into what you think Shire can do with a different roster this year?
Yeah, I thought last year was a great year. I think if they didn't have Duke across their chest, people would be patting that team on the back. I know obviously Duke always has, on paper, the most talented roster, but you and I both know how hard it is to win in March Madness. That's why it is called March Madness, and credit to Houston. But I'm also wearing the Final Four shirt, so I witnessed the collapse in person, so that was tough. But that team last year, man, was 35 wins, win the ACC regular season and the championship in the tournament, go to the Final Four. That's a great year. Any program would want that. But, you know, Duke's expectations are kind of championship or bust, which I think is unfair. But last year's team, man, the talent that you just said for NBA talent, I was just more impressed with how well collectively they played defense. I mean, they were always just top 2 or 3 in the Ken Pom in defense efficiency. Jay Lucas left at the end of the regular season for a head coaching gig that never happens in college basketball. And that's like something Duke had to adjust on the fly. They lost their defensive coordinator right before March Madness, and they still got to the Final Four. And so just that team was resilient, and they were talented, but the resilience and the mental toughness that team had is something I really look back on. I was like, wow, I'm very appreciative of watching that team.
Something that I feel really good about is the way Shire has modernized. Three-point shooting has been fantastic the last 2 seasons, and like you said, the defense has been fantastic. Defensively, how confident are you in this group? Because something that jumps out to me is you don't have that Malawach, that Mark Williams type of rim protector, if I'm not mistaken, because Malik Brown and Ngongba give you some really interesting things you can do at the 5 offensively, and obviously Malik is a great switchable defender at the 5 spot too. So defensively, talk about your expectations this season.
Yeah, my expectations are still similar to last year. Malik Brown, I call him Swiper. Swiper keeps swiping. The way he can switch 1 through 5 and play the perimeter, his hands are unbelievable at the college level. And Ngongba, he's not as quick as Malawach was last year guarding the perimeter. Like when Duke played Alabama, he had Mark Sears. Duke just had Mark Sears in hell for 40 minutes. And that's credit to Malawach being big on the perimeter. This upcoming year, Ngongba came to Duke in a boot, basically, and he's still kind of recovering from a foot injury, so I don't expect him to really be effective guarding the perimeter. That'd be a great surprise, but he was actually pretty solid as a rim protector for Duke, and as long as Duke's guards on the perimeter can funnel the offense to the big man and let Ngongba go vertical, I think Duke's defense will be okay. I mean, Caleb Foster had an up-and-down year last year, but the one thing he was consistently solid at for Duke was guarding. It was just the offensive end that he struggled with. But you get a guy like Caleb Foster, and then you have Kaden Boozer coming in, who is going to be a traditional point guard for Duke that can guard. I like that. And then Cam Boozer might be the guy. I got to watch him in person. Like, highlight tapes are great. High school film is great, but I got to see in person. Can he be like a Malawach to a sense, or more realistically, Cooper Flagg guard 1 through the paint? And so if Cam Boozer can be that for Duke, then I think this Duke defense will be not as good as last year, but close to it.
So a potential starting lineup could look something like both Boozers, Kaden at the 1, Cam at the 4, Malik Brown at the 5, Sarr at the 3, Isaiah Evans at the 2. Is that what you're expecting to open the season, or do you think Caleb Foster could potentially be in there?
I think Caleb Foster will get the nod as the starting point guard to start the year. Now, it's his job to lose, just like it was this past year. He was the starting point guard for Duke this past season with Proctor, and then it kind of happened. He struggled the first 4 or 5 games, and Sion James became the starter, and you saw how Sion really impacted winning for Duke. So hopefully I have hope for Caleb Foster. Just the mental game, the mental aspect is kind of, you can see it on him sometimes in games last season. So I'm hoping, he's going to year 3. He gets that confidence in him, and then he's reliable and consistent, kind of like Tyrese Proctor last season, where, Proctor's first 2 years, you're like, wow, this guy can't miss, or this guy misses everything. And he was just kind of that type of guy, to where can Caleb Foster be more consistent offensively? If he gives Duke 6-7 points a game, shoots like 55% from the field and then plays defense, that's a win. And so if he can really excel in that role for Duke, I have him at the 1, Isaiah at the 2, and Sarr at the 3, or flip it, whatever you want to do, the wings, and then Cam at the 4 and Gongba at the 5. Okay,
cool. Quick, sorry to Sion James. I didn't give him love at the beginning, and he deserved that love. He did get drafted, and he was awesome. On Caleb Foster, I don't want to spend too much time on Caleb Foster because other guys I want to talk about, but when I went back and watched him, I really love the way he guards. He's got a great handle. He plays off 2 feet. And I think from the mental side of it, when you talk about Proctor just kind of sticking with it at Duke, some people were, his freshman year, it's like you're already a lottery pick at points, right? Sophomore year, it's like he has that great game in the tournament. Oh my God, he's like a first-team All-American. And Foster doesn't have that, but I think there's something to Proctor just kind of staying with it and being steady and then hitting his potential. And I think there's a chance that Caleb Foster surprises a lot of people, being, Isaiah Evans and him are the returning guards, and who says Foster can't take a level of jump that maybe Isaiah Evans' jump is expected in a way, and Foster's is kind of under the radar. So,
yeah, no, I agree with that. I think Caleb Foster, I think he went into more pressure, if you will, last season than this season. Like last year, yes, Duke was getting Cooper Flag, but you didn't know anything about Knipple. You definitely didn't know anything about Sion James. So it's kind of like Caleb Foster has to be this guy for Duke, and he wasn't. And he kind of got to him to where this year, now it's just talking about Cam Boozer, Isaiah Evans lighting it up, Gongba coming back, and you kind of forget about Caleb Foster. And I think that's where he's going to get people. Like, oh, this is year 3 Caleb Foster. We didn't have these expectations on him, but he's going to be a pretty good player. And so I like that with Caleb, and I hope his mentality, he stuck through some tough adversity last season, some DNPs late in the year, and then he was Duke's best defender against Houston in the Final Four. Just unfortunately, he was 0 for 5 from the field in that same game. So if he could have went 3 for 5 with that defense, then you're talking about a guy that's going to be a solid piece this season.
So that other guard I just mentioned, Isaiah Evans, offense, they couldn't be any more different in terms of their strengths. Isaiah Evans was just, not many teams, probably no other team in the country, just had the luxury of having a dude that could go for 20 in his sleep kind of at the college level, who you didn't even need sometimes. He's so exciting and fun, but I know that he had to kind of learn to do what the team needed. And he had a great attitude about it. I remember there was I don't know if it was Goodman or someone after a Duke game, he just had a great attitude about why he chose Duke, because it was going to be hard. So with that being said, what are your expectations for Isaiah this year? We know the upside as a shooter, as a creator, but defensively or just maturity, what are things you're hearing or expecting?
Yeah, look, he has a flamethrower, dude. He walks in any gym, he's going to knock down at least 3 threes, it feels like. And what I want to see him do this year is score with coming off the dribble. And I saw it in high school with him, and then you saw it at times for Duke last season. But honestly, Duke didn't need him to be that guy. So he kind of just was that come off a handoff, he's pulling. If you're in his face on a catch and shoot, he's still pulling. And I've said it on my show, but it's just like that was the perfect role for him, to where if he shot bad shots and he missed it, Duke had the talent to make up for that bad possession. But if he hit them, then it's like, this is fun as hell. And you saw that against Auburn. I mean, he came on the scene against Auburn, and just Duke needed some outside scoring that early in the season. Him being that guy really lifted Duke's ceiling, to where if he can continue to be that guy for Duke this year, I don't expect him to shoot whatever he shot on contested threes last year. It felt like 60%. I feel like that would be closer to 45 or something. But if he can score off the dribble and be a facilitator a little bit more in this offense, like you get a dribble handoff, go off of that handoff and then throw a lob. We saw him do it once or twice last season. But if you could really be that for Duke this year, it'll make the offense go even better this upcoming season.
So we're 10 minutes in. I haven't really given Kaden Boozer the attention he deserves. This is a guy who is, right there with DeBonce and Peterson, who probably are making more noise or have. As someone who's not super tapped into high school basketball, it seems like Peterson and DeBonce have controlled the headlines, which is interesting considering, he's going to Duke and what Duke has been, and that is, dad was an NBA player and everything. So, what can you tell people about Kaden Boozer who haven't seen a thing about him other than that he's ranked high? Like who is Kaden Boozer and what does he do? Because my basic understanding is he's a 6'9", do-it-all guy, kind of like Cooper Flagg.
Basically, yeah. I mean, his dad, like you said too, his dad played in the NBA, but his dad played at Duke, and his twin brother is his teammate. Can you imagine if Cooper Flagg came in last year with Ace coming into Duke at the same time? Yeah. National headlines every day. But now Kaden Boozer comes a year after Flagg, so he's kind of forgotten about. And Cam's, he's going to be smooth, man. His offensive game is smooth. He has a little low post fadeaway that is smooth, 15-footer smooth. Can knock it down from three. And then defensively, I've seen he's a good rebounder too. That is something that's important for Duke. I am worried. There was one thing that I was a little bit worried about Duke is, the front court is kind of thin. You have Gongba and Malik Brown. Both guys missed time last year due to injury. Gongba with his foot, Malik Brown separated shoulder. That's it at the 5. Last year, Duke had 3 centers, and that's why they benefited. So if Kaden Boozer can, be an emergency 5th if there's foul trouble for Duke, that would be a huge bonus. I think he's a really good rebounder, excellent rebounder, smooth offensive game. And the hype with him, I said this to a buddy of mine, it's kind of like if you flip the years of Marvin Bagley and Zion Williamson. Marvin Bagley was one of the best, if not the best, one and done for Duke, obviously Okafor. But in terms of flashy, wow, this guy's great, Marvin Bagley, everybody forgot about him the next year because Zion came in the next season. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like Cooper Flagg just happened. Oh, here's Kaden Boozer. So I think he is going to surprise more people nationally. I know he was in the media a couple months ago and said that Duke's being overlooked and it ruffled some feathers the wrong way. But in a sense, I get it because Duke's still being talked about, but not, I guess, obnoxiously like last season or what we've seen. And so maybe that's a chip on his shoulder that he has internally. And I think he will be he's going to be one of the best players, but I think he is preseason AC Player of the Year potentially with what he can do offensively and defensively. Great passer too.
Awesome. He should be preseason Player of the Year. I've seen him super high, and he's been top 5 in Wooden, preseason Wooden award odds. And I'm excited to see what he can do. And I do think, like you're saying, it's just interesting coming after Flagg and coming after how good that team was last year. Let's talk about Kaden. So 6'4" to his brother 6'9", not as big of a name, but also a very highly touted guy. Good positional size, 6'4". Is he a pure point guard? What is his game like, and what are your expectations for him?
So Kaden Boozer, he is a pure point guard. He's probably the best, or not the best, but the most pure point guard Duke's had since Trey Jones in terms of just control and offense, looking to push it, pitch ahead on fast breaks, whether it's a make or a miss. I think he has a really good high basketball IQ. Again, his dad played at Duke. His older brother he has that. They're twins, but it feels like he has the younger brother mentality where everybody's looking at Cam and kind of forgetting about Kaden. And I think that he will excel in the role that he is at Duke. And if Caleb Foster struggles like I talked about earlier, where I don't think he will, but if he did, I think Caden's a guy that you can pencil in for those 16 to 22 minutes a game, and you know what you're getting with running the offense. Now, his shooting, I don't like his form, I'll be honest. I don't know if he can shoot from 3 efficiently. It's just a little wonky to me. But around the rim, a guy that can get to the cup and finish around the rim, he's pretty solid at, especially with his size and frame. And I think you're going to see that in Duke's offense where Duke goes 5 out. He's going to be a dribble drive guy to get to the cup or get to the cup and dish it late and set up other guys for shots.
Is it Dame Sarr or Dame Sarr?
Dame Sarr.
Dame Sarr. Tell me about Dame Sarr. 6'7" freshman from France. Is he 18? Yes?
I think so. I don't know for sure, but I just know he's a freshman because, freshmen these days, Christian, they can be 17, they can be 22. I don't know, but I know he's probably 18 years old. I think he's a true 18-year-old. He played professionally for FC Barcelona with Jabari Parker, obviously Duke ties there, and like 6 other former NBA players, and he was getting legit minutes. And so, or he was getting minutes for FC Barcelona. And so he is a guy I'm really high on for potential. Potential is a scary word, dude. It is a scary word because it sounds great. It just sounds great, but sometimes it doesn't happen. But for him, I have that word attached to Dame Sarr because if he can click, that was Duke's pivot from obviously Cedric Coward, who was committed to Duke and stayed in the draft. So Duke went and got Dame. If he can be a guy for Duke at the wing position, can also handle it a little bit, then it makes that ceiling. Evan Maya had Duke as the 3rd best team in the preseason, and I could see that. I see why. And Dame will be a reason for that if Duke is a top 3 team this season.
Other newcomers, Nicholas Kaminia and Sebastian Wilkins. Kaminia's a 5-star, Wilkins a 4-star. These guys should be key rotation players off the bench, right? Both 6'8". Tell me about them.
Yeah, so I think it's Haminia. I think the K is silent because the K in Knipple is not. So it's like that's where my brain is, but pretty sure the K is silent for Nick. And he is a guy that I see some people high on. I have to see it. I just have to see it. He looks to be pretty smooth, but I think he will be like a role player at first. Sebastian is a guy that I did a film breakdown on his high school film, and I never do those. I always do like Duke pregame or, before game or post game. I've never really done a high school film, even on Cooper Flag. But Sebastian Wilkins just surprised me because I read him as a power forward. I didn't know much about him. And he was just dribbling the ball up, facilitating, and knocking down fadeaway threes. And I don't know his level of competition of what it was, but I think he played decent college or high school basketball. Like there were some nationally ranked high school teams he played against and he was scoring on. So with that being said, though, Sebastian Wilkins is like my wild card. He's a guy that's not expected to do anything year one for Duke, but he just has – I called him LeBron James with Sean Stewart's. He just has like a freakish athleticism and can step outside and shoot a 3 as well. And so I think he will be at first like a low role player. Guy probably plays 5 to 6 minutes a game. And then as the season progresses in year one, if he keeps proving himself in practice and in these games, then maybe he's a double-digit minutes per game guy for Duke and being a body for them. Like I said, Duke has no front court depth outside of Malik Brown and Gungba at the 5. Maybe they go really small and use his athleticism at the 4 and put Cam at the 5. I don't know. But he is a guy that I think can earn minutes potentially for this team.
Last name of a guy that we haven't really talked about that I expect to factor in here somewhat is Darren Harris. Yes. Darren Harris, thank you for bringing him up. Look, I forgot about Darren Harris.
Darren Harris is going to be a key piece for Duke this year. Darren Harris is a guy that is smooth as butter. People forget that Darren Harris was the freshman last year to play over Isaiah Evans. He got the minutes before Isaiah. Isaiah ended up getting those minutes from Darren after the first 3 or 4 games, but it was supposed to be Darren Harris, not Isaiah Evans. Isaiah just started playing better than Darren, but that's not a knock on Darren's game. Darren is a catch-and-shoot shooter. Like, he has a quick release. It is very quick, really good mid-range, and he's smooth going to the cup and finishing around the rim as well. Like, he's not a high flyer, but he's a guy that can finesse around the rim. And I have high hopes for Darren Harris. I have stock in Darren Harris to be a key contributor for Duke and a wild card, maybe as a wrinkle in a starting lineup. And he's just a guy that's going to be playing minutes for Duke. And that offensive scoring is there. It's just as long as he has that confidence to knock it down like I've seen him do, Darren Harris will be a guy that's going to be a fun surprise for college basketball fans.
I got into Malik Brown and Ngungba a little early on this, but it's because I think they're really important. One, because they're connected to the front court depth as potentially a roadblock for this team. But the second thing is they're both such good passers at the 5. And when Duke has the shooting to play 5 out and to have really smart passers who can switch on and move their feet on defense, I think that's exactly what Shire wants to do. You can't always have a Malawak or Mark Williams, this insane lob threat and shot blocker. So do you see them as important as I do? And do you expect them to kind of be hubs at the top of the key for this offense?
Yeah, I made a YouTube video calling them the best passers in college basketball like last week. So there you go. they are the key. Malik Brown, especially last season, was the key at times to running Duke's half-court offense. When Duke played at Arizona last year, I think Malik Brown had 3 assists, and they were all on back doors where he caught at the top of the key. Arizona was trying to switch. Duke slipped the ball screen, and he hit Tyrese Proctor or whoever it was cutting to the rim 3 straight times, 3 different occasions. And then Pat Gongba is a hell of a passer too at the top of the key. But what makes Big Pat so scary is he's so good low post where he can back a man down. Duke went 3 straight possessions of the ACC championship game, going to their 3rd string preseason center against Louisville, and they got 3 straight buckets. There was like 2 straight buckets, and he got fouled, went to the line. So they were 3 for 3 late in the second half, going to a true freshman as a 3rd string guy, because you put him on an island one-on-one, if you come help side, he's going to skip it over because he has great vision for his size, great touch, and he had 24 assists, I think it was, to 7 turnovers last year. I looked at the film for 7 turnovers. 3 of them were illegal screens. So it wasn't even him having the ball in his hands and making a mistake. It was just him getting set too late. And so, yeah, those guys are going to be an integral part in Duke's offense, running half court with them at the top of the key or elsewhere.
I love Malik back to the Syracuse days. Like, I just think he's just such a winning player. It's just, you don't really see it that much in college, like a guy in his archetype. And like going from Syracuse to Duke, like I know he dealt with the injuries, and you know, if you're box score watching, average 2.5 points and 1.5 assists per game, like you don't understand what it's that 1.3 steals per game. You know, you call him swipe play, and it's just when you watch, you're like, he's so smart and comfortable out there, and just on both ends, it's just, to me, always seems to be doing the right thing. And then he had that game, if I'm not mistaken, it was at Carolina. He hit like 3 threes when people didn't even know if he was going to play in that game. So I'm just a big fan of him. And like, I think some people maybe looking at this roster, part of the reason they could be sleeping on it is because they don't know how good he is. And like, I guess especially if you have March Madness in your brain, if I'm not mistaken, he wasn't that important on the run to the Final Four. So.
Yeah, he was banged up. He separated his shoulder, got back, separated his shoulder again, and was a shell of himself in March Madness because he separated his shoulder again. And to go back to the three-pointer thing, yeah, he had 2 in the Dean Dome. Credit John Shire. He's telling him, hey, just shoot it if you catch it. You got to keep your defense honest because that just opens up more spacing, which Duke is so good at. And also, it leads me to Pat Gongba. He can shoot threes. John Shire said on Crazy Cast that expect Pat Gongba to step outside and knock some down this season as well. He hit him in high school. He didn't have to shoot any for Duke last year, but he is more than capable, better than Malawak. Malawak shot, I think, like 33s on the season. It was like 7 of 35, 7 of 30. Gongba's going to shoot it better than that and probably a little bit more than that. I'd say like 40 or 53s this season. Like he can step outside and knock it down if need be. So look out for that as well. To add to their passing and cutting ability, those guys will be hopefully knockdown shooters. Big Pat especially, but if Malik can make 1 or 2, that'd be big too.
Something I just kind of want to leave on is, I referenced this earlier, when Shire came, I felt an energy shift. It was like, I just think he's great. And I thought last year's team was just really fun to watch. And there was nothing in that, and I know I'm talking to a Duke guy, there was nothing in that hate. There was nothing, I couldn't hate. There was nothing to hate. I really liked watching Duke play last year. And I feel like this year, I think he's just going to keep that thing moving. So they play fun, aesthetically pleasing basketball to watch. They guard, they shoot threes. And it's fun. I think Shire has such command over the program right now. I think he's obviously comes in at a program where the recruiting is much easier than other places. But like, I just think he has done such a good job. And I think he's already just launched himself into one of the best coaches in the country. So the question marks I have on the roster, just not seeing much out of some of these young guys yet. Like I just have this sense of confidence because of what he has done and his ability to, in the general managing team of just bringing guys like Sion James, Mason Gillis, and Malik Brown last year just showed me that they were smart. And a lot of schools just aren't these days, it feels like. I think that's going to start to change as people start to realize you can't just box score watch and bring in guys who have a lot of points and just expect it to work. Like, no shit. But it seems like some teams were thinking like that. So I just believe in Shire. And I think as the season goes on, if Boozer starts to really assert himself, like that's where, you know, if Boozer's like a top 5 player in the country, no doubt, and he proves that early on, that's when you can start to see this is a Duke team that could be a 1 or 2 seed again.
Yeah, I mean, Shire he's so good at developing his guys during the season. Like what you see from Duke in November is not this Duke you see in March. I mean, when Duke lost to Kentucky, people made it a big deal. They lost to Kentucky, and then they lost to Kansas and like, wow, John Shire's not the guy. You know, there's just narrative about that he's not the guy.
How'd you not call up a play? It's like he has just you know what I'm saying? I hated that.
Don't even get me started on those things. It's like, and we saw what the season turned out to be: 35-win team, Final Four appearance, and after like 2 losses in November, people were like, he's not the guy. He's not Coach K. It's like every year that he's been at Duke in his 3 years, Duke has gotten better as the season ended. Like his first year, that Duke team was not that great, and they won the ACC tournament for the first time in a few years at least, and nobody saw it coming because they just didn't click till late in the season. His second year, Duke ended the regular season like on a 2-game skid, and then they go all the way to the Elite Eight. JMU was the upset pick in March Madness against Duke. Duke beat him by 30+ because he just gets those guys to play. And then last season, obviously, the season was great. They lost 1 game in the ACC at Clemson, which is always a tough place to play. So to your point, I love Shire. I've been on his bandwagon for a while. He just knows how to coach his guys, and he knows how to test his guys, Christian. Like Duke's non-conference slate this season is insane. It's insane. And so he knows those are the games you need to play because that's going to prepare you mentally for the toughest place to play, and that's March Madness. And so I think I'm high on Duke again this year. And so I believe in Shire, and I believe the guys, and I think they'll gel at the right time again.
Yeah, I wish I mentioned the non-conference schedule earlier. It is insane. I know they got Texas Tech. They just added at MSG. It's actually on my birthday. I'm excited for that one.
Oh,
but go. I think he's got the perfect mindset of, and we'll see what the ACC is this year, but like, why not? If we are Duke and I have these young guys that I want to test, why not get the absolute hardest schedule that we can possibly throw together? It seems like that's what he's done. Yeah.
And last thing about that is, I don't know who they're playing in February non-conference this year, but last year playing Illinois randomly in MSG during conference slate just to like throw a wrinkle in to make your guys uncomfortable. I love that shit. And so I'm all for it. And so, yeah, I'm a big Shire believer, and his day's going to come where he'll eventually be a national champion. I truly believe that.
Last thing, NBA draft perspective. Other than Kaden Boozer, who could be a first-round pick or lottery pick this year?
The one I have is, again, boomer bust really with potential is Dame Sarr. I mean, he played FC Barcelona, like I said, and if he can click and be comfortable throughout the year, I think he can be a guy that people will talk about with his size. Wing size, if he can be a ball handler as well and knock it down from deep. Yeah, Dame Sarr is a guy that, everybody loves the foreign players anyway, so why not a guy from Duke doing that?
Awesome. Thank you, as always, for coming on, J-Man. We'll get you back on later this season. And if you watch this video, please subscribe to the channel. Going to be pumping out a lot of college basketball content. So
appreciate you, bro. Thank you.
Thanks, J-Man.